Your Honor, my next witness after this is in the parking garage, so we'll just have agent straight.
Do we have any others? I like to swear in multiples. I don't like to swear in individual people.
The other ones are doctors, so there are ones at Swifts right now will be here at 11. The other one is at Swifts, and I was going to email the morning break, whether or not we'll need to hear.
As soon as Mr. Mathews is forward. We have, let's go on the record, we have an additional witness to swear in. Ma'am, if you can please state your name.
Diana Strain.
And please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay. You can take a seat out in the audience and you'll be called up once the panel is inside. Sheriff, I'm ready. And while we're waiting on the panel to come in, I want to remind everyone in the audience, if you are seen with a phone, as the signs state on the outside of the courtroom and the foyer space, you will be removed from the courtroom. Do not have your phone out unless you are one of my interns and I'm giving you instructions to do so, or you are a member of the media.
All right.
You may be seated. Let the record reflect that all 14 members of the panel, the defendant, his attorney, and the state's attorneys are present. Good morning, members of the panel.
Good morning.
I take it that you rested well.
I did.
Yes. And you had a good breakfast, I heard.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Now, it's very important that you all remain awake. There were some reports yesterday that maybe those chairs are too comfortable, okay? So I want to make sure you are your sisters and brothers keepers if you see a fellow juror, because I would hate to stop evidence and address one of you, okay? You need to make sure that you rested well last night and that you are attentive and paying attention to every piece of evidence in this case. The lights may be turned off. Don't get too comfortable. I may end up having to leave the lights on if I feel like the chairs are working too much, okay? All right, you know what I mean by that, okay? With that said, we're gonna start with the first witness for today's state.
City calls Agent Strain, Your Honor.
And state you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Agent Strain. Will you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Special Agent Diana Strain from the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Will you spell your last name for the court reporter?
STRAIN.
And Agent Strain, how are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I'm assigned to a counterterrorism task force.
And what does that mean? What is your job description?
My general job description is to work counterterrorism investigations for any threats to the U.S., both in the United States and abroad.
And how did you become an agent with the FBI?
I went through training at the FBI Academy for 16 weeks,
How long have you been an agent with the FBI?
20 years.
And before you became an agent with the FBI, what did you do?
I was a school teacher.
How did you go from being a school teacher to a 20-year veteran at the FBI?
I always had an interest in forensic science.
And you are a team leader now, correct?
Yes.
And what does that encompass?
I'm a team leader for our evidence response team. That is our crime scene investigation team.
And so sometimes that's referred to as ERT for short.
Yes, that's correct.
And what is ERT? What does that mean?
We respond to crime scenes, we execute search warrants, and do a procedure for collecting evidence.
And throughout your 20 years with the FBI, just give the jury an idea of some of the assignments that you've had, not just here in Dallas, but throughout the nation.
I responded to 9/11. I responded to the Las Vegas mass shooting. I worked local kidnappings, homicides, bank robberies.
And how long have you been a team leader for?
18 years.
You and the FBI got involved in this case initially to try to find Sharon Mathews for a missing child, correct?
That's correct.
And there were quite a few FBI agents that worked on this case. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you being a team leader, especially with the ERT, we sort of brought you down here, I guess, as a representative for the FBI. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And so just give the jury an idea, in general, some of the things that the FBI did from basically October 7th through the body recovery of Sharon Mathews on October 22nd. Just outline the jury.
Our first call out was a search of Half Park, where we were looking for evidence of human remains. Then we processed 3 vehicles that belonged to the Mathews family. We processed the residence, and then we did the body recovery.
And how does the FBI, well, I wouldn't even say generally, let's talk about this case specifically. How did the FBI get involved in this case?
We were invited in by Richardson Police Department.
And does that happen quite often in major cases like this?
Yes.
And y'all are able to provide resources and manpower. The city of Richardson's a decent-sized city, but they don't have the manpower and the resources that the FBI brings. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And is that why y'all were brought in?
Yes.
All right. I want to start kind of timelining a little bit here. On October 8th, you guys executed, when I say you guys, the FBI executed a search warrant on a Toyota Sienna belonging to the defendant and his wife, Wesley Mathews, correct?
Yes.
And what sort of, when you execute a search warrant on a vehicle, what sort of evidence are you guys looking for?
We were looking for evidence of a crime. Specifically, we would be looking for DNA evidence, trace evidence, physical evidence.
And so on the Toyota Sienna, what sort of tests did you perform on that vehicle?
We perform DNA swabbings.
Did you also do, when you talk about trace evidence, see if there are any hairs or fibers or dirt that could have helped solve the crime at that point?
Yes, we would do vacuuming for hairs and fibers.
And with all that testing, with the vacuuming, with DNA testing, was there anything of evidentiary value found in that Toyota Sienna?
Not that I recall.
On October 9th, you guys processed another vehicle, an Acura MDX, which is also an SUV. You processed it on October 9th. And I would say you. Anytime I'm referring to you, it's the FBI in general. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Just so the jury has an understanding of that. On October 9th, you processed the Acura MDX, and then you finished processing it on October 11th, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about what was done with that Acura?
Again, we would do a search for trace evidence, for DNA evidence, for physical evidence to see if we can determine if there's any evidence of a crime.
And most of that was done on the 9th, and then on the 11th, you guys, for lack of a better word, just kind of tore up that vehicle, taking out the navigation, taking out, I think, the sunroof as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, tearing that vehicle apart, trying to look for any kind of evidence to solve this crime. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And was there anything of evidentiary value found in that Acura MDX?
There were 2 locations in that vehicle that luminesced with our chemical reactions to blood.
And what does that mean?
We do a presumptive blood test, and we use Blue Star in this case, where if it contacts blood or the properties of blood, it luminesces.
Was there any further testing done on that?
That I don't know.
Okay. Would that be Detective Diaz, who's the lead detective on this case, would that be a question for him to answer better than?
Yes.
And I guess I should have explained that as well. Part of crime scene processing, whether it's through the FBI or Richardson or any agency, is evidence collection, not necessarily evidence interpretation. Is that fair?
That's correct. We're crime scene investigators, not forensic scientists. We collect the evidence and then we send it to a laboratory for processing.
And you would always rather over-collect than under-collect.
That's correct.
And in this case, we'll get to it, some of the things that you guys collected. And you guys were taking everything that you possibly could and letting Detective Diaz and Richardson and other people sort out what had value and what didn't.
That's correct.
I want to talk about October 10th, when you guys executed a search warrant at 919 Sunnydale. You were actually a part of that team, correct?
Yes, I was. I was the team leader.
And tell the jury, when you're executing a search warrant at a home, what sort of processes are in place?
We start with a preliminary survey, which means we walk through the residence looking for anything that is in plain view. Then we bring in a photographer to document the scene as it is when we arrive. We bring in a sketch artist who outlines a map of the residence so that we could label rooms with identifiers. And we do this in a very methodical way. And then we break up into teams of 2 and then search each room.
And 919 Sunnydale was the address where the defendant lived, and also he lived there with his daughter Shayna, his daughter Sharon, and his wife Cindy, correct?
That's correct.
Did you guys do a walkthrough of 919 Sunnydale?
Yes, we did.
Did you take photographs?
Yes, we did.
Probably hundreds of photographs.
Hundreds.
And again, just like with evidence collection, with photographs, you'd always rather have too many photographs than not enough. Is that fair?
That's correct.
And so the jury, they're going to see some photographs here. We're not going to show them all, however many, 400 or 500 photographs. We've selected some that we feel best encompass a good idea of what the home looked like. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you and I sat down and we went through those photos, correct?
Yes.
For the jury, describe the house. What type of house was it? What was the layout?
It was a single-story house. When you walked through the front door, there was a formal dining room to the left, a living area to the right. As you proceed straight ahead, there was the kitchen, a little kitchenette area, a living room, and off of the living room was the master bedroom. Off the front of the house, if you went to the right, was where the other bedrooms were.
As you walked through the house, did you notice something a little unusual for a family that had 2 daughters?
Yes, we noticed that there were photographs of one of the daughters on the walls, but we did not see any photographs of the other daughter.
And was the one daughter Shayna Mathews?
Yes, it was.
And throughout that entire house, did you see any photographs of Sharon Mathews?
No, we did not.
And that struck you as being out of the ordinary. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
In fact, the first time that you and I sat down to talk, that was one of the first things that you said to me. Is that right?
Yes.
Did y'all do, again, tests looking for blood evidence, DNA, things like that throughout the house?
Yes, we did.
Any success with any of that?
Our presumptive blood test tested positive in the interior door to the garage.
And again, any further testing, Detective Diaz would be able to testify. Because when we talk about presumptive testing, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's blood, correct?
Correct. It has the properties of blood.
And then further testing has to be done to determine if it is or is not blood.
Correct.
We mentioned all the photographs. We've actually pre-admitted certain photographs. Your Honor, permission to publish states 10 through 38 with Agent Strain.
You may.
Agent Strain, the screen to your left there should work. And you should be able to draw on that if we need anything at this point. Just
Okay.
tap your finger on there. I'm going to start with State's Exhibit 10. Let me zoom out. What are we looking at here on State's Exhibit 10?
This is a sketch of the residence.
All right, and so you had talked about basically the front entrance is between A and B. You walk in through a little area there, and then the dining area is back. The living area is an I, and there's a dining area back in the H area as well, correct?
That's correct.
And so as you walk into the house, you're basically looking at the dining room table.
Correct.
You look straight through. As you walk in on the left, which is B, what room is that?
That was the formal dining.
Okay. And then A to the right as you walk in?
Was a living area.
And E is the kitchen, correct?
Correct.
And then, oh, I don't know what happened there. G is the garage.
Correct.
And F, that's the laundry room that leads out to the garage.
That's correct.
And then J back here, that is the master bedroom.
Yes.
And again, we talked about I being the living room area. There's a fireplace here, a little mantle. We'll show some photographs of that as well, correct?
That's correct.
So this gives the jury a decent idea as you're walking into the house where you're looking at.
Yes, it does.
All right. State's Exhibit 11, what are we looking at here?
This is the outside of the residence.
And State's 12?
Is the kitchenette area.
And that's kind of, I guess I refer to it as sort of the dining area just outside of the kitchen. As you're walking into the house, that's what you're looking at straight ahead, is that dining table with the chairs, correct?
Yes.
And then State's 13, what angle are we looking at here?
That is a direct angle on the kitchenette.
So that's the kitchenette looking out. The door over here that we can see leads out to the backyard area.
Yes, it does.
Correct? And then State's 14, what are we looking at here? The area where the door is open and there appear to be some clothes.
We are looking at the entryway of the laundry room.
So that laundry room opens up into the dining area and also into the kitchen.
That's correct.
And then State's 15, picture of the kitchen here.
Yes.
16, this is the kitchen looking more towards the formal dining room, right?
Yes.
And as we mentioned, as you walk into the house, the formal dining room is directly on the left. So as you keep walking, you got that, the kitchenette area, the kitchen, and then this is looking back into that formal dining room. 17 here is the pantry and the refrigerator, correct?
Correct.
And then 18, we've got some close-ups as well. 18 is the refrigerator. Looking at 19, you see pictures of a child there, correct?
Yes.
And that child is Shayna Mathews, their older daughter, correct?
Correct.
And this starts a pattern of pictures of Shayna and no pictures of Sharon, correct?
Correct.
Starts on the refrigerator, you've got several pictures here. And there's a picture here of, it's like a yellow picture, or yellow strip with 3 pictures below the Lowe's magnet. That's actually a different family, correct?
Correct.
But Sharon Mathews is not in any of those pictures on the refrigerator.
No, she's not.
State's 20, what are we looking at here?
The laundry room.
And 21 is at the washing machine.
Yes.
Now, you guys being the FBI again, were not in the house initially on October 7th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we'll talk about this with Detective Diaz, but it was your understanding that when Richardson got there, that washing machine had wet clothes in it, correct?
Yes.
And is that shown on State's 22
Yes, it is.
and 23?
Yes.
That's an idea that wet clothes were in the washing machine. And fair to say, not exactly a full load of clothes there, right?
That's correct.
Just a few things. State's 24, some wet blue pants that were taken out of that washing machine. Is that correct?
Yes.
And 25, a white t-shirt that was taken out of that washing machine.
Yes.
And again, appears to be pretty wet, right?
Yes, sir.
26, a red shirt that was taken out of that washing machine.
Yes.
And again, that's also wet.
Correct.
Now, State's 27, going back into the house, where are we standing here and what are we looking at?
We're looking at the living room and the doorway to the master bedroom.
Okay, and if just on the left side here, you can see that little
kitchenette.
kitchenette, kitchen table area. And states 28,
Is a picture of the living room.
and the fireplace with that mantle that we talked about initially on the sketch, correct?
That's correct.
And so this picture here, you're standing almost at the front part of the kitchen looking into the living room. Is that
Yes.
fair? States 29, a little closer look as we get closer to the mantle. There's a gate in front of the fireplace, right?
Yes.
And then states 30. Again, I'm going to zoom just a little bit here. You've got several pictures up there, some of the defendant and his wife, and some of a little girl who was not Sharon, correct?
That's correct.
And their other daughter, Shayna. So we've got only pictures of Shayna on the refrigerator, only pictures of Shayna on the mantle, correct?
Yes.
And that's a pretty visible spot in the house. Would you agree with me?
I would agree.
Both of those areas. People go in the kitchen, they see stuff on the refrigerator, they go to watch TV in the living room, and what are they looking at, right?
Yes.
31, these are some floating shelves. Is that the right word on that?
Yes.
And we've got some pictures here of the defendant and his wife. And we also have another picture of Shayna Mathews, correct?
Correct.
And none of Sharon.
Correct.
States 32, this is, you see on the left side those floating shelves, and then a hallway straight ahead, and on the wall on the right of states 32 there's some more photographs, correct?
Correct.
Any photos of Sharon Mathews on that wall?
No.
Looking at states 33, more photos on a wall in between two doors. Who are you looking at there?
Shayna.
Not Sharon, correct?
Correct.
And we're looking at several photographs there. And then on states 34, this is another close-up of some more photographs of Shayna Mathews, correct?
Correct.
None of Sharon.
Correct.
States 35, what are we looking at here?
The master bedroom.
And 36, is that a little closer view of the master bedroom?
Yes.
And see the crib here, is that your understanding of where Sharon slept?
Yes, it is.
.37, picture of the crib again. Do you notice anything about states 37 that's a little unusual?
There's really no blankets in the crib.
And the crib sheet itself, does it look like it's freshly changed potentially?
Yes, it
It
does.
doesn't look like anybody's been sleeping there.
No, it does not.
And then finally, the last picture of the house that we're going to show to the jury, states 38. On the dresser in the master bedroom, there's a picture that says, "Who's a cutie?" And who is that?
Shayna Mathews.
Any pictures of Sharon Mathews in that bedroom?
Not that we observed.
And when you say not that you observed, I mean, y'all are the FBI. You guys did a very thorough search of the house, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you went through drawers,
We did.
you found bank statements,
Yes.
right? You found all sorts of documents, correct?
Correct.
You, again, took hundreds of photographs. We're showing whatever this is, 28 to the jury. Is it fair to say that you guys did a very thorough search and did not find a single visible photo of Sharon Mathews in that home?
That's correct.
Agent Strain, tell the jury about some of the items that y'all collected on October 10th from that home.
We collected DNA swabbings. We collected clothing, bank documents, personal items.
Did you guys collect, did you guys actually collect the washer and dryer as well?
Yes, we did.
Bedding,
Correct?
shoes, clothing, a ton of different electronics,
Yes.
correct? Different computers, different cell phones, some of which the cell phones weren't even working, but you went ahead and collected them anyway, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Between 10:10 and 10:22, when Sharon's body was recovered, did the FBI continue to assist in the search for Sharon Mathews?
Yes, they did.
Did y'all provide manpower, resources, anything imaginable to try to find Sharon?
Absolutely.
And let's fast forward to October 22nd, 2017. Were you on duty that Sunday morning?
Yes, I was.
And how does that work if you're on duty on a weekend like that?
The way our evidence response team works is we have 3 teams and we rotate duty. Each team has it for 2 weeks on, 4 weeks off.
And you got a call that morning.
Yes, I did.
What'd you get a call in regards to?
I got a call from our senior team leader advising that a body had been located in Richardson, Texas.
Did you respond to that scene?
Yes, I did.
Did you respond with the ERT team that you supervised?
Yes, I did.
Approximately how many people were out there? Just a ballpark.
There were 12 ERT team members, and there was probably about 30 other law enforcement personnel.
And what was y'all's job as the FBI ERT team?
Our job was to recover the human remains.
Had you had to do something like that before?
Yes, I have.
How does that process work?
It's a very detailed process where, again, we're going to go in and do a preliminary survey of the area. We're going to take photographs of the scene as it is when we arrive. We're going to sketch the area and do measurements of where the body is located. And then we're going to do a line search of the area surrounding it for any other additional items of evidence.
Did you do all that in this case?
Yes, we did.
Did you recover any items around the culvert where Sharon was found?
Yes, we did.
And just give the jury an idea about some of those items.
We recovered clothing. We recovered garbage bags or shopping bags. We recovered a chewing gum wrapper, I believe. And then we collected grass and soil samples.
And again, you don't know the chewing gum wrapper or garbage bags. You don't know if there's any evidentiary value or if it's just trash, right?
Correct.
You did all that in this case, and eventually you got to the point where somebody was going to have to go into that culvert, correct?
That's correct.
How did that work?
I brought the team together and discussed with them what that would entail. That would entail crawling into a small space, and it would be recovering the body. And I needed to know who on the team could handle that task.
Were there plenty of people on the team that could not handle that task?
There were a few that had children in the similar age range that could not handle it.
And eventually someone did.
I had 2 people volunteer.
And who actually had to go into the culvert?
First, Special Agent Brian Chima went into the culvert to recover the body.
And when Agent Chima went into the culvert to recover the body, were you there supervising?
Yes, I was.
Was he able, I guess describe to the jury what that's like. Agent Chima is in this culvert. It's not a big space, but he's at least an average size male. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
And he was able to get in there.
Yes, he was.
Did he crawl in?
He was on his stomach crawling in.
And how was he able to recover Sharon's body?
He brought in a tarp with him and moved the body to the tarp, and then we pulled the tarp out with the body on it.
You mentioned another agent had to go back in.
Our staff operations specialist, Katie Tippett, went in to look for evidence.
And did Agent Tippett find any more evidence in the culvert?
She located teeth in the culvert.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
You may.
Agent Strand, I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 46 and 48. Are those pictures of Sharon Mathews, 46 being her body in the culvert as you guys found it, and 48 after you guys took her body out of the culvert on the blue tarp?
Yes, they are.
All right. State offers 46 and 48 at this time.
Your Honor, the defendant objects to the admission to those. Notwithstanding the court's prior ruling, we re-urge our objection.
This overrule states 46 and 48 are admitted.
Permission to publish states 41 through 44, as well as 49, and then eventually 46 and 48.
You may.
Agent String, I'm going to use the Elmo for these first few photographs. The states 46 and 48, I'm going to publish just to the jury. Fair to say they are extremely graphic photos, 46 and 48.
Yes, they are.
And you've been doing this a long time. This isn't just a normal case, right?
No, it's not.
Was this one of the more difficult cases that you guys have had to work on?
Yes, it was.
States 41, what are we looking at here?
We're looking at the cross streets of where the culvert was located, including the water tower.
And states 42, sort of wrapping around, and you can see the opening of the culvert, sort of just in the middle of that field, correct?
Yes, that's a long-range photo of the culvert.
43 getting closer to the culvert, and 44 showing as we're getting down nearer to the culvert, correct?
Yes, we take all our photographs at long range, medium range, and then up close.
And again, you mentioned average to, I mean, even an above average size male can still fit through there crawling through.
Yes.
And states 49, the other side of the culvert with water coming out of that other side, correct?
Correct.
And Your Honor, I'm going to publish states 46 to the jury by hand.
You may.
States 46 is going to be how y'all found Sharon's body in the culvert, correct?
Yes.
And states 48 is her body after it was recovered, correct?
Correct.
Agent String, I know you're not a medical examiner, but Sharon's body was extremely decomposed. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you've recovered skeletal remains, which is one thing, but in that state of decomposition, it's something even different. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
Give the jury an idea over the 15 days that the FBI was involved in this case, the amount of resources, the amount of time, the amount of people that were spent trying to find Sharon's body.
We worked hundreds of hours and allocated hundreds of people to find Sharon Mathews.
I'll pass it.
You need 1 second. Counsel, you may proceed.
May it please. Agent Strain, good morning.
Good morning.
We've never had an opportunity to meet before, is that correct?
That's correct.
Except this morning out in the lobby.
Correct.
I haven't had an opportunity to meet with you and discuss with you any of the facts surrounding this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, you've had at least one or multiple meetings with the state regarding this case prior to your testimony, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where you've been able to go through the evidence and pick out basically what you think might be the most shocking pictures.
We pick out the pictures with the most evidentiary value.
Can we have an agreement, Agent Strain, that you will only answer my question? If you don't understand my question, will you please let me know so that I can be happy to rephrase it for you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Agent Strain, would it be fair to say that This is very upsetting.
Yes, sir.
Anytime you have a death of a child under these circumstances, under the circumstances that your office, your resources have spent hundreds of hours doing, is upsetting and frankly, angry. Would those be fair emotions?
Yes, sir.
But you're a professional and you do your job and you do it well. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Now, Agent Strain, a lot of your testimony that you gave regarding the items that you found, other than what you saw, other than what you collected, you have no idea any of the circumstances surrounding the clothes in the washing machine. Had they been in there for a day, still wet, a week, still wet, had it just been washed beforehand? That's pure speculation on your part. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
The photographs. And Your Honor, may I approach, please?
You may.
The court. I want to tender to the court our exhibit list, Your Honor, of exhibits that have been agreed to. I've given a copy to your court reporter in the state. You mentioned that you went through the home and you found no pictures of Sharon Mathews. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you found that to be particularly odd. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, in one of the photographs that was shown of the refrigerator of an empty frame, is that correct?
I don't recall.
And there was a photograph of Sharon that was given to the police of Richardson so that y'all could know what child y'all were looking for. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
It just didn't appear out of thin air.
That's correct.
Most likely it came somewhere from the house.
Correct.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to publish a couple of pictures, if I may, of these photos that have been previously admitted by agreement with the government or the state.
What are they marked as?
Let's look at, for right now, 33 through 37.
And so you're asking that those be admitted now, 33 through 37?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and state you don't have an objection.
We don't have any objection to that, Your Honor.
Defendants 33 through 37 are admitted.
May I publish those, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Agent Strain, I wish I was taller like Mr. Fine here. Agent Strain, would it be fair to say that through the course of your investigation, you would know what Sharon looked like before she passed away? Would that be fair to your investigation?
Yes, I saw photographs.
Okay. I want to show you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit number 33. Would that be if I told you those were school pictures of Sharon, would you have any reason to disagree with me that that's a picture of Sharon at school?
I would not disagree.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 34. Would you agree that that's also a picture of little Sharon at school?
Yes, it is.
I want to show you Exhibit number 35. Would you agree that's a picture of Sharon at school?
Yes, it is.
Also, number 36. That's also a picture of little Sharon at school, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And also 37.
Yes, sir.
But through your review of the home, all the forensic evidence that you all went through at the house, you never came up with any of these photographs, is that correct?
That's correct.
blood that you claim you found or the samples that you collected, you don't know really what those were, how it got there, how old it's been there, or anything like that?
That's correct.
And would it be fair to say in the pictures that were in the home of their other daughter, Shayna, those were pictures of Shayna when she was much younger than what her age was at the time that you all went in the home and took the pictures?
Yes.
So there were no current pictures of the older daughter, Shayna, in the home at the time. Is that correct?
I believe there are older pictures on the refrigerator.
Where there would have been the other picture of Sharon, but that picture was used for purposes of trying to go out and make flyers for law enforcement to go out and help look for this child. Is that correct?
I don't know where they got the photograph to put on the flyers. I don't know if that was the one on the refrigerator. There was no picture there when we were there.
Thank you so much. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Say,
Briefly, Your Honor. So, Agent Strain, defense puts in these pictures of Sharon at school. We don't know who took these pictures, right?
Correct.
For all we know, it could have been teachers or daycare workers that take the photos, right?
Correct.
You have children, correct?
Yes, I do. I have 4 children.
Did you ever put them in daycare?
Yes, I did.
Did you ever get photos at the end of the week of them, like the teachers would email you photos or something like that?
Yes, I did.
Does that kind of look like what we're looking at here?
Yes, it
So
does.
the fact that email pictures were received by somebody doesn't really tell you a whole lot, does it?
No, it does not.
Any of these pictures displayed anywhere in the house?
No, they were not.
And defense counsel mentioned that, I think he said we were trying to find the most shocking photos. Is that what he said?
Yes, he did.
When we sat down to discuss photographs, did we sit down and try to find the most shocking photos to show this jury?
No, we did not.
Did we actually spend a lot of time deciding whether we were even going to show photographs in this case?
Yes, we did.
And was a decision made that this is what happened? Those photographs, they're not fake, right?
Correct.
You had to see not photographs, but the real thing, correct?
That's correct.
And so when you have a little 3-year-old girl that's rotting in a culvert for 15 days, that's not real pretty, is it?
No, it isn't.
And so it is shocking to see that, right?
Absolutely.
It's shocking to see that anybody could treat a 3-year-old daughter like that, correct?
Correct.
I'll pass the witness.
defense.
Your Honor, I want to tender to the state Exhibits 41, 42, and 43.
I don't have any objection.
Defendants 41 and 43 are admitted.
If I told you that these are pictures of Sharon when she was first seen in India, November 15th, and then a photograph of her in August of 2017, you wouldn't have any reason to argue with me on that, would you?
No, I would not.
And then another pre-adoption photograph of Sharon when she was over in India.
Correct.
And then another one also in exhibit number 43.
Correct.
And it'd be fair to say, Detective Strain, there's these unfortunate circumstances that brought you here today. I can't imagine what it would have been like to go in and do what you do, and I thank you for the work that you all do. But there's no way you can put a pretty bow on these circumstances, can you?
No, you cannot.
And it's heartbreaking.
Yes, it is.
It could also be heartbreaking for Mr. Mathews, could it?
Could be.
Thank you, Your Honor.
See,
I don't have anything else, Your Honor.
any objections to releasing this witness?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. You may step down.
State calls Detective from yes.
step, but before you take a step back, please raise your right hand. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated, and state you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Diaz. Will you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
My name is Detective Victor Diaz. I work for the City of Richardson Police Department.
Detective Diaz, how long have you been a police officer with the city of Richardson?
Almost 13 years.
We spoke to Officer Savage yesterday in terms of becoming a police officer with the city of Richardson. Same basic training and academy he would have had to go through, field training, exercises, and things like that, correct?
Correct.
You are a detective, though.
Yes.
And so, first of all, how long have you been a detective for?
I've been a detective almost 5 years.
And where are you currently assigned as a detective?
I'm currently in our intelligence unit.
What does that mean?
I work with latent detectives in property crimes and major crimes and help them with their cases to generate intelligence that's going to help close their cases.
How long have you been in that section of basically the Richardson detectives?
Since September of 2018.
Back in October of 2017, were you in a different section?
Yes.
What section was that?
I was in the crimes against persons unit.
What does that mean?
We investigate homicides, sexual assaults, domestic violence, bank robberies, aggravated assaults, any type of crime that involves person on person.
What sort of training did you receive in order to become a detective in the crimes against persons unit?
We go through interview interrogation training, sexual assault training, robbery investigation, use of technology in crime, homicide school, a bunch of different online courses you can take that just help better your training, and I think most importantly, just on-the-job training.
Crimes against persons, also called capers, correct?
Yes.
How long were you a capers detective for?
About 3 years.
And before you were a police officer, you have some military experience as well, correct?
Yes.
And how long did you serve?
11 years.
What branch?
The Army.
Detective Diaz, back when you were working capers, how does it work in terms of who gets called out to different crimes?
We're on an on-call rotation. You, on average, are on call about 4 times or 4 weeks a year.
And on October 7th, 2017, in the early morning hours, were you on call?
Yes.
Did you get a call about a missing child?
Yes.
Tell the jury what you responded to.
I got called, said that I needed to come in, that there was a missing child, that I needed to come in and help investigate. My sergeant briefed me very quickly and just said there's a missing child. Go ahead and get there and determine what type of assets we need. He told me there was a 5-hour delay in the report of the missing child, and that the caller, Wesley Mathews, called the non-emergency number, not 911.
Let's start right there. 2 things you brought out. 5-hour delay. What is significant in that? With a missing child, you wait 5 hours to alert any authorities.
It just throws up a red flag. I've never had a situation like that before, where there was a long delay with a 3-year-old child missing.
And then after 5 hours, you called the non-emergency line. Explain to the jury, non-emergency versus 911. What are we talking about there?
Again, another red flag. If you call 911, a 911 operator will answer, whether it's Dallas, Garland, Richardson, Plano, and they can transfer you to the correct operator if your call's routed to a different agency. By calling non-emergency means that you had to look that number up, figure out what the non-emergency line was, and call that line, which goes to the same dispatcher.
You had this information before you arrived on scene, correct?
Correct.
And so you get a call about a missing child. There's a 5-hour delay, and the defendant calls the non-emergency line. As you're driving to 919 Sunnydale, what's going through your mind?
Red flags are going off just based on the nature of what's been told to me. I called dispatch and requested that they email me the 911 call. So dispatcher said it'd take a couple minutes, but they would email that to me. I have a work phone with access to my work email. So once I got that email, I played the audio, and I heard a 3-minute call with the dispatcher that sounded like someone reporting a missing item, not a missing child, with no emotion.
And did that pattern, not to necessarily foreshadow, but that pattern continued throughout your investigation, correct?
Yes.
Eventually, you get to the scene at 919 Sunningdale. What do you do when you get there?
I made contact with Officer Savage. He was the call officer. Had him brief me up on kind of what was going on up to that point, what resources were being utilized up to that point, and basically said, let's kind of start over. Let's talk to Wesley really quick, and then let's do a secondary search of the home. We've had cases before where a child's found in a closet under clothes or under a bed. So I just wanted to make sure that Sharon wasn't in the house. So we asked for permission to look in the house, and we did a secondary search of the house.
By the time you got there, had a photo of Sharon Mathews been provided to Richardson?
Yes.
And where did the photo come from, if you know?
I believe Sini provided Officer Savage that photo.
Okay. Was it an actual photo or a text of a photo?
I believe it was a text of a photo.
And through that text, was that then broadcasted out to the rest of Richardson?
Yes.
And was there an Amber Alert issued?
There was, but it was later
Okay.
in the investigation.
It's now probably 9 in the morning. You've done the secondary search at that point, correct?
I believe it was a little bit later. I don't think I got on scene until about 9:45.
The call came in about 8:08, correct?
Yes.
And so now it's getting later in the morning. By this point, you've got a good amount of officers looking for Sharon, correct?
Yes, and we'd notified Dallas and Garland, just because of their proximity to the address, what we were looking for.
And were they helping as well?
As far as we know, they were. I never confirmed that.
What other resources did you bring in just in the morning of October 7th?
About 10 minutes after being there, my sergeant got there shortly after I did, and I told him we're going to need more bodies. I need more people. So he called in Detective Farmer to assist me, and called in more patrol officers that are off. They just basically recalled them back to work so we can get more people searching. I requested a K-9 come out to try to do track. Spoke with one of the representatives from Search One, and they said they'd be there within an hour. I requested Air One to do an aerial search. I thought it was still cool enough in the day that infrared would work a little bit, but we were told they weren't in service at that point.
And so within a short amount of time, y'all are using every resource you can, calling in resources from other agencies, correct?
Yes.
Pretty urgent situation.
Yes.
Did you have any interactions with the defendant that morning?
Yeah, when I arrived on scene and made contact with Officer Savage, and he finished giving me kind of a quick update of where they were at, we spoke with Wesley briefly to kind of get an account of what had occurred, and he kind of restated the same thing he had told Officer Savage.
What was his demeanor like when you talked to him?
Just cold. He didn't have a worry. I lost my kid in a department store and freaked out and heart racing, but there was just nothing. It was just calm. It definitely was a big red flag for me.
And for the record, you see the defendant, Wesley Mathews, in court.
Yes.
You identify him by something he's wearing.
He's wearing a white shirt with blue striped tie.
Let the record reflect Detective Diaz has identified the defendant of the court, Your Honor.
The record will so reflect.
You said that you did take a walk through at 919 Sunningdale, correct?
Yes.
At the time, were you looking for evidence or just looking for Sharon?
We're looking for Sharon.
And what did you feel? What's going through your mind? The adrenaline. Just describe that to the jury.
As we're searching the house for Sharon, of course, the back of my mind is thinking, what if this is something more? So I'm trying to pay attention to what's in the house, but my concern is also just locating Sharon at that point. And I think Officer Savage had the same reaction as I.
would you agree that yourself and the rest of the Richardson officers and other officers who were looking for Sharon had a sense of urgency?
Yes.
Did you sense any of that sense of urgency from the defendant?
No. At several points, as we were doing the search of the residence, he just appeared to be following us rather than helping actually look.
Later on, you found out about some clothes being washed, correct?
Yeah, I remember the washroom was between the garage and the kitchen. And to get to the backyard where he said he had left her by the tree, you had to go through the washroom. And I remember seeing the light on the washer. And I remember Officer Savage looking inside the washer and dryer just to be sure she wasn't in there.
And were there some wet clothes in the washroom?
There was. At the time, I didn't really know all what was in there, but it looked like a very small load.
You guys later recovered those clothes, correct?
We did.
White t-shirt, pair of blue pants, red shirt, just a few things in there, correct?
Correct.
After you guys had sort of got the scene under control, set people in motion where they needed to go, what was your next move?
We were going to request that Wesley come down to the station so that we could interview him in a controlled setting like our interview room.
Did he come down to the station?
He did.
How did he get down there?
Sergeant Gearhart took him.
When he got down to the station, did you read him his Miranda rights?
We did.
And why?
I was suspect. This wasn't a case of a girl who was missing. This was something more, and I didn't know at the time. I didn't know. So err on the side of caution and go ahead and read his Miranda rights, because the last thing I wanted was for him to say something and then he'd get thrown out because I didn't use proper protocol.
And just briefly explain to the jury, I mean, you hear Miranda rights on TV and everything like that, but explain from a legal capacity what Miranda rights are and what the significance are.
I mean, if somebody's in custody or if they're not really free to leave, you always err on the side of caution and read their Miranda rights. It was myself and Detective Farmer. Wesley had agreed to come down to the station. Sergeant Gearhart, another police officer, drove him up there. There was two of us in the interview room. We just felt like the best thing to do would be read his Miranda rights so that later he couldn't come back and say that, he thought he should have had.
And you did read his Miranda rights, correct?
I did.
Did he fully understand them?
Yes.
Did he waive his Miranda rights and agree to be interviewed?
Yes.
Now, the interview on October 7th it's around 4 hours in total. We've kind of cut down some of that 4 hours for the jury to review, correct?
Yes.
Let me actually, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Detective Diaz, was the interview video recorded?
Yes.
And in fact, later on October 23rd, you did a subsequent interview with the defendant as well, correct?
Yes.
Was that also video recorded?
Yes.
In the October 23rd interview, did you also read the defendant's Miranda rights?
Yes.
Did he waive his Miranda rights?
Yes.
Did he appear to do it knowingly and voluntarily?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to show you State 66. Does that appear to be a copy of the October 7th interview with the defendant?
Yes.
Any additions, deletions, alterations to that video shown in State 66?
No.
State 67, the October 23rd interview with the defendant. Again, any alterations, additions, or deletions to that video?
No.
State offer States 66 and 67 at this time.
No objections.
States 66 and 67 are admitted.
Permission to publish State 66, Your Honor.
You may.
Detective Diaz, before we publish State 66, which is the October 7th interview, we'll publish the October 23rd one in a little bit. Give the jury just a quick recap of what the defendant told you in that on the October 7th interview.
He said that on Friday, October the 6th, they were getting ready for bed. It was about 10 p.m. Sini, Wesley, Shayna, and Sharon all sleep in the master bedroom. Shayna's Acura told her she needed to drink her milk. He went back inside. A short time later, came back out. She hadn't drank the milk. He placed her on the east side of the at 5 a.m. when Sini wakes up and confronts him.
All right. And Your Honor, for the record, on State 66, we're going to start at, it's October 7th, 2017 interview. We're going to start it at 11:12 and 43 seconds.
You have the right to remain silent and not make any statement at all, and any statement you make may be used against you at your trial. Any statement you make may be used as evidence against you in court. You have the right to have a lawyer present to advise you prior to and during any questioning. If you are unable to employ a lawyer, you have the right to have a lawyer appointed to advise you prior to and during any questioning. You have the right to terminate the interview at any time. Do you understand your rights right now? Yes, sir. Okay. Do you want to waive your rights? Do you want to talk to us about what happened? So, it was last night. I haven't slept now. You do want to talk to us about what happened?
You're cool with talking to us right now?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, John, can you just start from the beginning? Because I know I spoke with your wife and she said that you guys are having some problems with Sharon last night. She didn't want to eat.
Yeah, she's getting more and more stubborn with her eating. And it was getting on my nerves, not as much, but usually she drinks 4 little glasses of milk.
Which one is she drinking right now? Because Cindy said she was drinking, what is it, full vitamin D?
Full vitamin D.
Okay.
Yeah, we can give her the whole full tablet.
Yeah.
And so she gets at least 10 hours of weight from it, right?
Okay.
So she was supposed to finish her teddy bear jar full of milk, and she started, I think, maybe around 9 o'clock. By the time it was around 10 o'clock, she had finished, or even not even half. So 1 hour.
And so between 9 and 10, she only drank half?
Not even half. It's probably, I think it's 8 or maybe 9 hours.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure about it. They typically come in 8 ounce cups. The teddy bear kind of jar. So she was particularly slow yesterday. And I told my wife, no, she needs to finish her bill before she goes to bed. That needs to happen. Then my wife said, just don't worry about it. It's already 10 o'clock, bedtime for both of us. It's already in the bed.
Had she eaten throughout the day, or were you concerned that maybe she just hadn't had enough, that she needed to eat more?
Yeah, exactly. She hadn't had her full showers, which she usually does. She had skipped her meals, and she was all wayward. And it kind of felt that, her stubbornness was building up. And so I agreed to that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's get the girls to bed. We baked both of them, and then we hit the bed, I think around 10:15. And I'm still lying there, because we've had previous experiences where the doctor had told us this child is not getting enough calories. And then there's growing concern for that. And so they've done their a lot of things. They told us, the parents, you need to do more work. Basically, that's it. And so I decided, come on, this girl can drink her milk. So I go, Sharon, are you? Yeah. Okay, let's go to your milk. Okay. And so she gets up. She was awake. She hadn't slept. So it's 10:30. And I tell Mama, I tried to tell her that I'm going to feed her. I don't know if she listened to me and closed the door behind me. So in the kitchen, she's still holding that the bear cup with a straw, and she's trying to drink, but she's just sitting. She's just standing right there. She's looking at me. I'm sitting across. She's like, Shannon, come. I don't have time for this. Come on, you gotta finish. Let's go to bed, buddy. She wouldn't listen. She would not listen. That time flies 11:30, and I was like, Shannon, you better drink your milk. No change in her fluid intake. The same whatever milk is there, it stays there. 12 o'clock. Shannon, I'm way past my bedtime. I need to go to bed. I have to work tomorrow. Get something to drink. Drink at least half of it, and let's get to bed. Nothing. No change at all. And it's past midnight, and I'm getting very upset. So around 12:30ish, I said, okay, we'll put you in the garage. Okay. So I'm going to stand inside the house, the door open, you'll be standing in the garage. And I'm thinking, okay, that'll force her to play some. She's standing there, 12:30ish or midnight past.
And when she's in the garage, the door to the garage is closed.
It is closed.
But she's in the garage.
Yeah, the lights turned on. Yeah.
That's something you've done before?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a new
Pattern.
thing I'm trying to get her to take it off.
Because we told the girls that there are coyotes present outside behind the railway line. So my thing is, okay,
You said coyotes?
coyotes.
Have you seen them back there?
Yeah, we saw them.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw them?
I want to say 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I'm not exactly sure, 3 to 4 weeks. It was pretty strange. First time we were seeing a coyote. We came back from our friend's house, and all we could see is eyes shining bright.
Yeah, we thought they were called some kind of dogs, but there was a pack of them over there. Immediately I, Google up city of Richardson says, yeah, there are coyotes around this area. So we've been telling the girls, hey, you know what, that's a dangerous place to go. And we're trying to build that fear factor in them.
What time of day was that when you saw those coyotes back there?
We were returning back from our friend's place, I think 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, I think. This is 3 to 4 weeks back. So, even the garage, she has absolutely, she's not placing it out, she's not moving it out.
Yeah.
And I wait there for maybe 15 minutes, like, shut up, come on, hurry up, please. There, no sign of anything. I opened the garage. You see that? It's dark out there. You see that? And she looks, it's dark out there, Sharon. I'm going to go inside. You're going to stand here, you're going to finish him off. She still hasn't looked. She's not moving at all. I'm standing by the door. I'm half asleep. I'm hoping I don't know what to do. And then I'm being stubborn too. Sharon, it's either you or me. You're going to finish that box. You can't finish it. You've done it before. I don't know why you're being so stubborn with me. She tends to know that, so she understands. But for a 3-year-old, I don't know how much she understood about that. Anyways, I took her outside our car. We have a car parked outside by the total, and then standing inside the garage now. Told her, okay, Sharon, this is your chance. Finish it. Let's go inside. Let's go get our sleep. I made a good 15 minutes over there. I don't know what time it is by then. And then no movement at all. Then I tell her, okay, weren't you going to stand by the green, the grassy area? Because we realize that's just outside our house. There's that white pole right
Gas line marker.
Correct, gas line marker. It's right there, so I take her by there. Tell her, this is your chance. Yeah, we will bring it, Sharon. We can go. And then just go back, stand in the garage. So it's a good distance, nice distance between us. I'm still nervous, but I was watching her. The mood was pretty bright too, so there's nothing really to be afraid of, I thought. Anyway, I stood there maybe another 15 minutes, and then I said, okay, Sharon, you're going to go way to those places where there are a lot of coyotes there. And then those kids have been growing for years. We kind of, got the girls scared that those scary area, ghost area, things like that. So we actually take her, put her close to those trees, take her bottle and say, you have to tell me, Dada, please give me my milk, I'm coming back. Because you had your milk in your hand, so now I said, we're going to give you a milk, you have to come and ask me for it. And I start walking backwards. She sees me walking backwards. And I'm past our fence. And I stop, so she can't see me, but I'm kind of leaning onto the edge, trying to see what she's doing. She's still standing there. She has both her fingers touching each other. She's like, looking all over. Sharon, drink your milk. Do you need your milk? And I said, Sharon, I'm going inside. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going inside. Bye, Sharon. No sign of her. I tried to sit and listen to at least something that she would say, Dad, something like that. Nothing at all. And then I just got really furious. Like, okay, let her stand there for 15 minutes. And then, let's see what's going to happen. I was in the ego mentality and completely clumsy endangering my own child. Anyways, I go inside. I'm in the garage now. I don't hear anything. I go inside the house. I wait there for 2 minutes. Should I do this? Should I do this? And then I get,
nothing else is there, running around, so the property seems pretty vacant and no life there, so it should be fine. So I go and sit inside our breakfast area there. I sit there, trying to see, what she would be thinking, how she's going to do this. And next thing I know, it's already 3:15.
And what time did you leave her by the tree?
I want to say because 10 minutes is what I gave her. So a little past 3 o'clock, I put her by the tree.
Okay.
So it's 3:15, 3:30 when you...
3:15, I was like, I had alarm bells ringing all over. That's way too late.
Okay.
I literally, there's no sound from her, nothing from her. I ran out, trying to see what's going on. Sharon, what do you do? No, she's not there. She's not there.
What was she wearing?
She had black pants on, which is kind of tight, and hot pink top.
Okay. Is that her pajamas or is that just what she wore yesterday?
That's what she wore yesterday. But
Okay.
Sort of pajamas.
Any shoes on her?
She had pink shoes on her.
Pink shoes?
Shoes or sandals?
Sandals.
I think sandals. She got ears pierced yet?
No.
Okay.
And so, and when you realized that this is too long and you went outside and you noticed that she's not standing there, I mean, what did you do at that point?
Basically, my inclination was, okay, she probably turned around, she saw the trees or something shining by the trees. So she probably went take a look at the tree. So I go to Sharon, where are you hiding? It's not a safe place to be. Nothing. Sharon, where are you hiding? I'm by the trees now. No sound, nothing at all. It's outside was pretty clear, but inside the trees it was very dark. There was nothing.
How much light was there last night on the moon? I mean, could you see? How far could you see?
I could see the distance from our house to the trees, definitely. We could see the railway line also, to a certain extent.
Okay. But it wasn't one of those nights where there's no moon and it's pitch black.
No,
There was plenty of ambient light where you...
Right. Yeah, I could see her standing, when I dropped her, I could see her. I was walking backwards, I could see her. She was standing right there.
So as you can't find her now, know what's going on in your head?
I'm thinking, okay, she's probably tripped and fallen somewhere into there. So let me go grab my cell phone. My cell phone was inside the house. I don't have flashlights. So I'm going inside, get my cell phone, I turn the lights on. It's not too bright, but you try to point it, try to get as close to whatever place I can be. I can't see anything. And the trees are all, it's very crowded, and I was getting afraid going very close to the trees, not knowing what's in those trees. And so then I just stood around, tried to walk around the tree, no sign of her at all. Then I tried to think, okay, maybe she went back inside. I was sitting there, she probably went back, she's probably hiding somewhere by the fence or by the car. So let me just take a look, little kids. So I come back, I take a look behind the car, take a look in the garage, no sign of her, go inside the house, go check our kitchen and all those areas, there's no sign of her at all. Then my mind is thinking, no, she's probably still back out there. Maybe not the first tree, maybe a little out from the first tree. So in my mind, it's always the trees. I don't know, there's something about the trees. I get the feeling if a little girl gets stuck in there, she's not going to get out by herself. So I take the cell phone out again. And this time it was around, check the time, it was around 4:15-ish. I put the lights on on the cell phone. Trying to go around the second tree, I can't find anything around. Now I'm starting to panic. I don't know what to do. Absolutely no idea what to do. And then I don't know what to tell my wife either. I mean, I'm an idiot. I'm endangered my own child's life. That's the bottom line there. So I'm standing there. No, I can find her. She must be somewhere around here. I haven't heard anything. No, nothing. No noise around. There's no possibility anything else would happen. She's somewhere there. She's probably lying down. Maybe she's hurt or something. So trying to do as much as I can. I try to go to the third tree. No idea what's going on with her. And I think, okay, maybe I should go inside and see what's going on. At that time, when I go inside, my wife is coming out. She's like, what the heck are you doing? And she's sleeping with Sharon. So we all sleep in the same room. Shannon sleeps with her wife and I, and our older daughter, we sleep in the master bed. Then she goes, what's going on? Like, I can't find Shannon. Like, what do you mean you can't find Shannon? Where is she? She was like that. No, I wanted to give her a room, but I wanted to discipline her, so I made her stand outside sadly. I don't know what's going on with her. Maybe she's inside the house. Let's go look, she's there. I said, okay, let's go look. She's like, no, she can't sleep in the room. She can't leave Shayna out. So she's not going to stay here. We go look for her. And so I started looking all around the house. And, I want to go back to those trees, but it's still not too bright. Still the moon is outside. So I go again. I don't see anything. I just go only to the third tree because the little girl, the fact that she walks to the third tree, so it's a far too much of a stretch. So go to the third tree again. No idea what's going on. No idea where she is. And then all these thoughts keep going into my mind that something bad has happened to her. I don't know what it is, but if I can't find her, there's something wrong. Then I'm thinking, okay, the first rays of sunlight come. Okay, I don't know what time it comes, but I'm just going to sit it out. The sunlight comes out, I'm going to take a look. I'll give it plenty of brightness. And so around 6:45-ish, 7-ish, the sun is up. And go check those trees, check inside the trees, try to throw some stones into the trees to see if there's any sound coming at all. There's nothing at all coming from any of those trees. And then, I don't know, maybe it took me an hour to search the almost half of the trees inside out, Then I come back and I tell my wife, I think we are missing Shannon. And then we're like, okay, call the police, let's get that report. So, I think around 8 o'clock-ish or so, we call the police.
I'm going to stop at 11:29 and 18 seconds, and then I'm going to move ahead, Detective Diaz. To 11:35 and 6 seconds.
And what type of history did they give you at the orphanage when you guys adopted her? Did they give you any type of history on her at all?
It's all cured back in India. And so they said perfectly working eyes, perfectly normal girl, everything. We get a girl whose one eye has genetic conditions. So it's just a means for Indian government to somehow send those kids to the U.S. and other European countries. Yeah.
Did that make you upset?
We were upset. We were upset that they were not honest to us about it. Not even the agency that we worked for either. So apparently the agency was blindsided too. So it was completely the Indian orphanage that kept it all under wraps. And when we go pick her up, we find out she is a mental illness.
Did you try to come back?
No, we didn't. Okay.
I'm going to stop again at 11:36 and 2 seconds. So, Detective Diaz, just real quick on that last minute that we heard there. You're talking to the defendant about the adoption process. And so, I guess describe for the jury your impressions of his response to all that.
It sounded like he was upset that he got duped and got a girl that had some medical issues, and he was promised a girl that was going to be in good health. And that's pretty much what I got from that.
And then I'm going to start the interview back up. At 11:59 and 55 seconds.
And here's the thing, Wesley. We're all here. I've explained to you how many resources we have here trying to find out what's going on. If there's something you're not telling us, this is the time where you need to tell us what you're not saying. Okay? Because we've got
there. So I had this assurance in mind, she's going to be standing right there. Because, there's no, I don't see no animals, nothing at all, no sounds at all. And it's, pretty clear moonlight out there. So I know she's going to be out there. I'm just waiting for her to say, Dada, come back. I'll finish my book, or Dada, please come. Something like that.
Did something happen in the house before you took her outside?
No.
Nothing.
I'll pause at 12:01, 53 seconds. Detective Diaz, at this point, you're confronting the defendant, saying that his story doesn't really make sense, correct?
Correct.
And he's telling you everything that he said is the truth, right?
Yes.
You literally just said, did anything happen in the house? And what was his response?
No.
And you don't know it at the time, but at 12:01 and 53 seconds on October 7th, 2017, as he's telling you that he doesn't know what happened, nothing happened in the house, everything is true, Sharon is laying in a culvert half a mile from their home, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to move ahead to (12:09 and 5 seconds).
Is she hurt? Or is she, what's up, something wrong with her?
I understand. She was yelling at you about this. She's mad at you.
She's completely upset. She's like, why in the world did you take a child who was sleeping and where did you want to do that? Because the whole thing messed up. I mean, if she had finished her milk, then it would have been looking good on everyone. But at this point, I'm telling her, I can't find her, honey. I don't know where she is. She's like, no, go look for her, go look for her. She's somewhere around here, I'm pretty sure. She's a little girl, there's no way she can go anywhere. And she stayed home, because she was still sleeping. And so I'm running around trying to find out where she is. But
And you drove around the neighborhood, you walked around the neighborhood, what did you do?
just those three sections. I mean, I didn't want to focus anywhere else outside.
So you didn't drive anywhere, you just...
No, yeah. It's not even my wife trying to drive or just that, those trees right there. They're just, I don't know.
So for 2.5 hours you did that and nothing.
Inside the house, I went back running back inside the house too, trying to see, double check that area, this area, this corner of the house, the closet, or behind the door. Because every time you're running, you're thinking, oh, maybe I missed that.
The garage door?
Stop again at 12:10 and 19 seconds. During that minute, the defendant actually says, if she had finished her milk, it would look good on everyone. Did you catch that?
Yes.
And so, really about the only consistent thing in this statement and what he said to Officer Savage and what he said to the non-emergency line and what he'll say on October 23rd is this Sharon wouldn't finish her milk thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, he won't let go of her not finishing her milk, right?
Correct.
Move ahead to 12:36 and 24 seconds.
I don't know.
Would you have done the same thing with your other child?
We've never had to go that side for her at all. But if she's adamant, I think, no matter who the child is, if children are adamant and they're purposely adamant, then they should be given some kind of something to fear about.
Would you have done that? Would you have left her outside when the coyotes are?
I don't know, sir. I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't leave a person, a full-grown man there. At this point.
Stopping at 12:37:06 and moving ahead to 12:50 and 49 seconds.
Wesley, is Sharon alive?
So what?
Is Sharon alive?
She is.
Or is she?
Just look for her.
She's not in the trees.
Just look for her.
She's being looked for right
Let's for her.
Where do we need to go besides the trees? Because she's not in the trees.
No. You're not looking good enough.
Which dumpster is she in?
What's up?
Is she in the attic of your house?
Please check my attic of the house.
Did you check the attic?
I did not.
How do you get into the attic of your house? Is there a little thing in the ceiling, or is there a door?
No, there's a ceiling.
That's the only way to get in the attic.
That's correct.
Okay, so she could have got under.
No.
Because she can't open the door.
No. I don't think she even knows what that means.
Where is Sharon?
She is alive, sir.
Where is she?
She is alive.
12:51 and 55 seconds, I'm going to stop it there. He says what, about 4 times she's alive, right?
Yes.
And we know that's a lie. She's dead, lying in a culvert while he's telling you those lies, correct?
Yes.
And had he told you right then where she was, you would have been able to recover the body and a full autopsy would have been able to be performed on Sharon Mathews, correct?
Yes.
Which could have dramatically changed the way that we're able to prove things here in court, correct?
Yes.
But he continues to lie to you, doesn't he?
Yes.
And he almost starts to blame you guys for not looking hard enough. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes.
You got all these agencies, all these people looking all over the place for a girl that he knows is dead, lying in a culvert, and he's starting to blame you guys for not looking hard enough, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to move ahead to 14/22/04, so that's 2/24/04. This is a little bit different angle. The audio on here is a little bit softer than the other one, but the audio from the other angle on this one is really terrible. So we're going to use this angle here, starting at 14/22/04. And just so we're clear, there's 2 cameras in this room, correct?
There is.
This is just, there's one camera looking down this way and another one kind of looking directly at the table, correct?
Correct.
And actually state before you start, I'm going to go ahead and give the jury their first break, okay? So we are at 10:23. Members of the jury, you will be taken to the back. Please make sure that you're not wandering this back hallway, that you stay inside the jury room. And we will resume in 10 minutes. Sheriff.
All right.
You may be seated. And we're still on the record. I want to remind members of the audience that the mics are on in the audience, and I can hear the things, the laughing. Some of y'all are catching up. Just be mindful of that because it can be distracting, okay? And then also, please, there was an intern that came in from the state yesterday who was using his cell phone. If you are an intern at the DA's office, advise your colleagues because you will be removed from the courtroom and you won't be able to come back the next day. We're on break. Thank you.